everyone. I'm Joshua Harker. I'm an artist. Also an inventor. I've been a CEO, an industrial model maker, industrial designer, a lot of things. And this has all played into kind of my history and what introduced me to 3D printing and how I became adept at using it and how I integrated it into my art. There's a lot of 3D buzz, as everybody has been talking about, with the 3D printing industry and what it can do and how it's going to change the world. And I'm here to give a real-world account, what I've learned by experience, what it's actually done for me and how I've done it and where I see that going, rather than, delivering, some presentation to try to manipulate the market to better suit my company or, produce some stats and statistics of fiscal quarter. None of that stuff. This is just what I've done, what I've seen, and where I see it going from my vantage point. In the early days of tech, when this was, in the mid-late 80s, when the technology first was invented, I was in art school, and I was studying classical sculpture, anatomy, and but I was dreaming and also doing pieces of things that were unmakeable. And this was where my head was, but this stuff was not suited for 3D adaptation. There's no way to do this. I tried. Believe me, it was years before there was a medium, before 3D printing, which ended up being that medium, came to a point where I could use it for something like this. In '89, I entered the product development industry as a commercial sculptor, doing things, as you see here, mostly toys, collectibles, dolls, all that kind of stuff, action figures. 3D printers had just really started entering the industry and showing up on the floors of these model shops and invention bureaus that I was working at, really profoundly changing how prototyping and product development was done. But it was all very straightforward geometries at that time, limited not only by the technology but the CAD, what you could actually physically make. So pretty straightforward components and housings and things like that. But nonetheless, I saw the magic and I imagined what I could do with it, what I wanted to do with it. But the interface wasn't there. There's no way as a sculptor I was going to start working with these engineering programs and make them do what I wanted. So for 10 years, I worked and watched the technology and the materials and the software grow and develop and really learned how to work with it and get better at it. But it was really too expensive for anyone to use, as a personal tool. In '98, I founded a boutique design firm and ran it as president and CEO for 10 years. And we had, complete with high-end 3D printers, the objet machines, casting, vacuum pressure casting vessels, CNC machinery, machine shop, employees, the whole thing. And we did it all. We're problem solvers, prototypers, and design invention. We're doing automotive stuff, motorcycles, aerospace stuff, telecommunications, medical devices. A lot still in the commercial sculpture area. I was still doing a lot of that. Let me step back here for a second. We did all of this with a small crew, about 6 people for the first couple of years. And on a $2,000 investment in the first 2 years, turned that into approximately $2 million, this is US dollar, revenue stream. 6 guys, just plugging away with some machines. That's very, some very powerful tools that we were able to use. And we ran great, 100% in the black, no debt. We weren't taking loans on. Anytime again, $2,000, we turn that into more, and then we just reinvest it. And we liked that model a lot. We didn't like to be beholden to, just that debt. So what happened, though, and it's important to mention this, in around 2001, the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and then through the coming years, there was some changes in the economy and how things worked. And this typical brick and mortar style of operation, we couldn't adapt quick enough to keep up with it. And we took on a significant amount of debt to stay afloat. And we got into that, that credit, debt credit cycle of operation, which, we weren't designed to run as. We didn't want to run like that. And I sold my partnership out in 2008, and for about 50 reasons. One was to pursue my fine art, recommit to that. At this point, all I was doing, I was working with clients and quoting and all this stuff, but I'd gotten very far away from my art, and I wanted to get back to that. But one of them was for the health of the business. I felt, and we looked at the numbers, that we could restructure the business and take a major player out of the game and save a lot of money and cash flow and get that company back on its feet, and it worked. They're still running today very successfully, and I'm still friends with everyone, which doesn't happen a lot of times in these buyout situations. And my path has worked out as well for me. So it was a good decision. Previous to my departure, I had been doing a lot more design work. I started integrating into the process much earlier in the stage, rather than just taking on designs from clients. I was getting involved in from the concept and ideation stages and napkin sketches and working that stuff out. And this changed a lot. I was doing a lot more geometric style stuff, a lot more mechanical stuff, gears and clutches and timing and tumblers and all kinds of things. And this really changed how I was working with the technology and about how I thought about it. So I was trying to make CAD do things that it wasn't designed to do for a long time. And in particular, sculpture and SolidWorks, Pro-E, you can't do that kind of stuff. Still, you can't. But in the early 2000s, mesh-based polygonal modeling, made for the animation industry, started making some great leaps forward. And I started working with that and worked out a pipeline where, not only was I able to make the forms I wanted with that software, but I was able to figure out how to export that data into a printable medium that I could actually sell the service of. And I integrated that nicely into our service stream, and was able to also marry that with the mechanical side of things. So when you're talking action figures or any of that kind of toy work, and then as ergonomics and lines got sexier with other with just consumer products, that merged together very nicely, and that was a big stage in me really committing and understanding where this was all going. So after 15 years in the business, as I said, my work had radically changed how I thought about it in the medium and how I was using it. And I was able to go back to these unmakeable things and figure out a way to make them. And this is Permutation Prime. This is my first Tangle. And about 2003, late 2003, 2004, I printed my first one. And this was done on a PolyJet, and later I used SLS a lot. And in this kind of shapes, you can't make these any other way. The software is necessary, the materials are necessary, the machines are necessary, and there's all kinds of issues regarding that. Why that is the case, why you can't even make a one-off of these. But they were in plastic, and personally, there was a novelty to that didn't set well with me. I really wanted to move it into an archival material, and I started working with soon thereafter with Voxeljet in Germany, who is here today, and they're to me just profoundly wonderful technology that offered all these little intricacies of how it would build something that can then make that bridge into the archival material. Specifically, this is cast bronze. This is the first piece that I did in cast bronze with them. Now, this is a really big deal, and the the organic technical complexity of these, you couldn't do this before, specifically in this material. And this material is important to me. Archival materials, specifically metal. We're talking about, for millennia we've made machines and weapons and art from this, and to move into that realm, to take this material and turn that into a form that couldn't be made before, that could not exist before. This is pivotal. I mean, this is the proverbial flag on the moon. We've arrived. We can do this now. Now, I don't want to overstate what it is. I mean, it's not you can't wash your clothes with it or mow your lawn with it or anything like that. It is sculpture, it's fine art, but it is a symbol of what can be done and what couldn't be done before. It is that mile marker that we've made it, and this is a perfect storm of the technology, being the 3D printers, of the software, and of material engineering. Without any one of those, it couldn't happen. They all had to happen together. What made this, specifically the achievement is that, and I'll just give you a little insight why, if you're not real familiar with manufacturing processes, the internal complexities of the geometry. You could never mold this and reproduce this. You couldn't get that in there and then get it back out to make a pattern. You couldn't do a one-off of this. There's, even just simple planning and concepting of it. You can't three-dimensionally just. It's just too difficult. I tried it, and you can't work with. The varying dimensions. Sorry, I did a bump there. The way it gets thinner and thicker, material properties aren't going to hold up to that. Traditional materials, you're not going to be able to carve wood or marble or whatever and not have it fall apart on you under the weights. And then the complex symmetrical issues. You can't maintain that like you can with the softwares. So all of these obstacles are out of the way, and I was able to do that, and made more. And this was, again, personally a great achievement for me to move my vision from 2 dimensions into 3 dimensions. During this time, I had gained a pretty significant following on social media, and was really putting as much work out there as I could to gain exposure, and to present the medium as a true medium, as a new art medium, and try to illustrate it and put it in the right light so people understood what it could do versus what couldn't be done before. And a crowdfunding site called Kickstarter blipped on my radar about this time, and I put together an experimental campaign to see if this thing had legs and just see how it went. So I had a goal of $500 and a hunch, and in 45 days I raised over $77,000, which approximately, I guess, around 100,000 pounds, and gained about 1,000 new collectors. This was huge. It became the it still is number one most funded sculpture project in their history. At the time, it was number 3 in arts overall. And now it's just a short time. I mean, it's only a couple years, but already there's this, I think there's a $10 million plus project on there. This is kind of small change comparatively, but a very big deal. In terms of, especially at the time, but in terms of what it could do, how you could get your information out there, get your exposure. And this type of exposure as an artist, I mean, it kind of touches on anything, no matter how you look at it as far as marketing. But this would have taken at least a decade, if not more, through the typical gallery circuit. I couldn't get this to happen, and this has happened in 45 days. Everybody that needed to see it saw it within 45 days. To fulfill the project needs, I outsourced everything. I worked with Shapeways, and there's a lot of companies out there, the Sculpteos and Craftworks and Materialize, and these online bureaus. But I worked with Shapeways, and no $500,000 machines on my floor, no facility overhead, no salaried employees to run it. I uploaded the designs, PayPal'd them the money, and a couple weeks later, I had a freight truck at my garage dropping off just pallets of 3D printed skulls. And complete from project close, to delivery was about 8 weeks. I got everything in everybody's hands within 8 weeks. 3 of those weeks, nothing happened. I was waiting for funds to be released. So all of this happened in 5 weeks, which is, pretty cool. And again, I wasn't toiling away carving every one of these by myself. This happened off-site and not, so much, under my own roof. And the exposure of all this, a lot of people focus on the dollar sign. Oh, you made how much? Well, a lot of it, I probably should have charged more. But it was an experiment, and that's was the point. But a lot of money went into shipping. A lot of money went into building the pieces. But the exposure proved to be much more valuable than the dollar amount. And hundreds of thousands of people have seen my work, if not more. And for instance, there is an image aggregator. A social site called Tumblr. And I did an interview with Etsy, an online marketplace I've used to great effect. And one image from that interview got uploaded onto Tumblr, and to date it's got like 125,000 notes. And what that means is that it's been shared or reblogged, and that doesn't even say how many people have actually seen it. And all these people aren't actually buyers or anything, but the point is I'd entered the public psyche. People see and recognize my work, and artist or company, that's what's more important than that? That's advertising. It's how you get your work out there. So I fully integrated my the 3D printing medium into the arts and pioneered its use in the arts. And I broke the design and manufacturability threshold with the tangles. So I was pretty much on my soapbox now. I want to tell everybody about this. And to lay out what that means, to artists and makers and creators, inventors, designers, entrepreneurs everywhere, is that that we have a new set of resources and networks and tools to work with to bring a product to market. Right now it's in early stages. Art works very well with it. There's cost considerations of manufacturing and so on. But essentially, bottom line, I went with my company about $70,000 per month overhead, just to keep the place open, pay, employees. And this is a small company. I mean, there's places that are bigger. But now I run at $0 a month. That's a big difference. There's and that's powerful. That responsibility to maintain that type of revenue stream isn't there anymore. It's spread around, and people specialize. The online service bureaus specialize in what they do, and I get to be creative and worry about my work rather than the bills on it. So, who's empowered out of this whole thing? Certainly the big tech manufacturers of 3D printers and software companies are reaping huge benefits currently from all of this, and that'll likely continue for some time. But the most profound sector, I believe, that has been empowered by this is the makers, the creators of all types with this, that we now have access to all these tools that in the previous model, even still current model, to bring a product to market just required is astronomical costs to design, market, manufacture, distribute, warehouse, quality control, everything. You just need piles of money to be in that game. So it's a very elite system that that is starting to shake apart. You don't need those millions of dollars to bring a product, fully formed product to market. The developing revolution is leveling that playing field, and the maker and consumer are both benefiting. Things like open source software, sub $500 3D printers. Now these aren't, all these aren't at the level, but the point is the prices are coming down that we can actually get at these, and you don't even have to have them. I mean, under $500 or not, I don't want one in my house. I'd rather send it out and have someone else do it, and that resource and network is there. The funding is there, crowdfunding. You don't stand in line for a bank loan and see if that works out for you. And just this full suite of technology and software to manufacture and market and get your product, whatever it may be, is out there. The liberated is the consumer, and this previous, you get what you get and you'll like it, that's not really the case anymore. I mean, that was like, one customer builds, or one brand, builds whatever, and the customer's like, you can have that, or maybe we have a couple competitors, but that's it. You don't really have a lot of choices. That's really changing, and you're having more options, more brands, more, a direct relationship with the designers and the manufacturers. And the big one is this ultimate customization. And I'm not talking just like, well, I'd like that in blue, or I'd like my name on it. I mean, this isn't like a t-shirt factory, where it's way beyond that. And for instance, there is a software company that I'm collaborating with, and one of the examples we're looking at, they're merging different models together, and I'll touch a little more on this in just a bit. But example of one of their pieces is a piece of jewelry, a bracelet, merged with a scan of their wrist, to fit perfectly. And it's so perfect that the veins are actually evident in the bracelet. So, whether that's necessary for fashion or not, I don't know. But the point is, that is absolutely, fits perfectly. And, this whole is, does these jeans make my ass look fat? That's not going to hold water anymore, because your ass is fat because the stuff really fits now, This is a big jump, and I won't get into the medical stuff. We all hear all the amazing stories coming out of medicine and prosthetics and all that stuff, and this plays right into that. I don't know if this is right now, 6 months from now, but it's happening. It's starting, and certainly within this decade, these huge differences and developments are going to occur. And the possibilities of who and where we get our products, we're going to have a lot more control over that as well. So let me talk about the future a little bit. A good way to predict the future is to see what's happening before most. To be up in the tree and to see over the hill as the soldiers are coming in is a pretty good place to be, and let everyone else know you can prepare for things. It's not so much you're knowing things that aren't known, it's that you've had a chance to look at them. And in my little corner, there's a few projects I'm working on, so I'll just share a little bit about my vantage point. I see the design cycle changing, and that's going to be huge. So the consumer is going to be integrated into this much sooner. Again, rather than, here, you can have this, and or this or this. Now it's not going to be like that. There's going to be kind of a more generic way of designing that brings the consumer into that fold much earlier. And parametric modeling, generative modeling, 3D scanning, all of that will be part of that. And the consumer will choose things, whether it's fit for their body, or certain shapes, or on and on and on. They will make those decisions, not the designer. And they will put these together, and then the product comes afterwards, after the consumer has already participated and chosen what they want in much more specific ways than we've ever experienced before. Social media is becoming and will continue to become a bigger marketplace. Places like Etsy and Shapeways and Sculpteos, and where it's they're selling, but there's much more social aspect to it. There's dialogue back and forth. There's likes and sharing of the different products. That's going to continue to grow and get more and more specific. I've used Facebook, and it's very casual and a good way to connect with my audience. But it's too casual to sell. That's very much for I guess pictures of people's lunch and their kids. But this is going to it will get more specific, and Etsy is a very good example. I use that, and it works. I saw a lot of work through there. So you're going to, on one hand, you're going to have the autonomous artists and designers, and on the other one, you have your stock consumers still. But most of this is going to meet in the middle. And again, you're going to have these consumers participating in the design process and driving what it is that the end product is going to be. Ultimate customization, one-of-a-kind pieces. And a big one is a new technology, an eighth printer, 3D printer technology. I'm working on a project now, and this isn't like a new rep wrap, a new filament iteration, a complete new technology, one that offers multi-material, so you can print in plastics and in metal, so you can basically print like one of my Tangles wired and ready to go, plug in a battery on one end, even print a battery. I mean, that's even a possibility, and lights on the other. in ways that you could never do, and in one shot. Printable in standard injection molding materials like ABS and nylons and acrylic and all these things that we've become so used to and we know the material properties of, and they're useful. All of this, and no rigid supports either, like a powder bed type of situation. So you're very liberated in geometry and in materials, and full color tonal printing, decoration. All of this sub $1,000. This is going to turn, the flagship technologies on their head. And this is already kind of happening. I mean, we see these new technologies coming in, or further adaptation of them, and the pricing coming down that will continue to do that and really shake up these the bigger players in how they're marketing and what they're putting out there, and the demand for their product. And if not this project, it will come from somewhere else. It will continue. There is going to be new technology, and it will continue to come down in price, and it will change how we work with it. There's been quite a history of buy-ups by the bigger players, and ridiculously low money spent on R&D with them, and then also combine that with the expiring of a lot of patents coming up. That's going to, I think, to diminish the size, the footprint of the really big players over what's happening right now, and I think for the best. I mean, I think having some of these dinosaurs, I mean, relatively speaking, we're only talking 25 years, but to have some of these dinosaurs kind of die out and spread the ashes, I mean, and fuel and fertilize this new growth will be a good turnover. I believe what I'm seeing is that the future is going to be driven more in this revolution more by the participants and the users and the consumers, and these companies, they're talking about how many billions of dollars, and bigger than the internet and all this stuff. I just feel they're doing that for self-serving purposes. I see where the real money and the real economic influence is going to come from this new economy of makers and consumers participating in the making of it, and all this new way of distribution that is customs and VAT fees and sharing of ideas and working together on bigger projects, crowdsourced projects is profoundly going to change the economy. Again, I'm not trying to oversell it and say, get ready, 6 months from now it's all different, but you know how fast this stuff goes. So in the next decade, there's going to be some profound changes happening, and all of this really without using a single established avenue of protocol. We'll be able to build our own machines if we wanted to. These Harker machines are already out there, or at least get affordable machines, design, market, and manufacture our own lines of product, and not again have to have the deep pockets that the current system requires to participate. This is this 3D revolution, third industrial revolution, is not just about 3D printing. As a lot of people try and focus on that, it's not. It's the internet. It is crowdfunding. It's virtual currencies. It's social media marketplaces, scanners, adjunct technology. All this stuff is coming together. Any of these by themselves are just an island, but you put them together, it does really start to speak of a much bigger revolution and a more profound change in the future of manufacturing and the future of our economies. Thank you very much.